This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
Oh my goodness. Welcome to the Fatal Four Way for all intents and purposes.
Divided by two.
Yeah. This has been getting on the air here tonight. Clearly, we're like 24, 25 minutes later than I wanted to. Technology and I butted heads here a little bit ago, and in the most inopportune time. I don't mind telling you. We had originally planned to be live from ONTV's studio in Lake Orion for tonight's episode. However, um, look, this time of year, there's a lot of people. They're coming under the weather. They're getting sick. There's all kinds of different variations of this, that, and the other thing happening, and it knocked our director down. He came down with the ick. Brian Balf, one of our colleagues here. I mean, as recent as last night, he was saying, he's like, man, I am not feeling right, and then it has not gotten better. Quad L. Edwards, hopefully, is going to be joining us later on during the course of this program. He had an obligation that has run later than he anticipated. But for the here and now, Sean Grugel and I are going to man the fort, as it were, and we're going to get into a number of different topics and headlines before we look ahead to the Elimination Chamber premium live event that goes down tomorrow night from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Sean, there are a lot of people who don't understand that the venue in which this event is taking place tomorrow isn't a 20,000 seat arena. It is the building formerly known as the Sky Dome. This is home to WrestleMania 6, which was the Ultimate Challenge with Hogan and the Warrior, and then WrestleMania 18 with Rock versus Hogan. So this is a stadium show, and one of the bigger stadiums in North America, in Canada. So it's going to be a big damn deal. We're going to get to that here later on in the show. But before we start tackling headlines here, how's things in your neck of the woods, my friend?
Well, I'll tell you, Brian and Joe better hold on to their seats because I was down with the ick for 3 weeks myself. I'm still trying to get over that cough, um, which would be one of the few reasons why you haven't heard us on the hot tag here on the PFC network. But things are going good here in my home studio. I have my cousin Levi with me. He was looking forward to coming down to the TV studio, but unfortunately things happen. So we've been hanging out all day. We caught up on Monday Night Raw, which was a dog turd, and yeah, so things are good. I'm glad we're finally able to record a little something, even though I really hate hearing those two words. Like when my wife told me she was pregnant with my son, I'm late.
Well, listen, blessings coming. All right, listen. We're gonna look at the headlines here real quick, and we do encourage you to check out or you can be a part of the conversation. So I got three different things that are popping up all at one time here. You can be a part of the conversation by joining in on the live chat on the PFC network page on Facebook, as our good friend Brian Jackson just did. And good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for tuning in. Um, we have a lot of I'm going to try to incorporate a lot of corresponding graphics. So Sean, if something pops up on the chat that requires my attention, please let me know, so I can kind of keep an eye on this, because we wanted this to, even though it wasn't what we had originally planned with ONTV and all the bells and whistles and the pomp and the circumstance that goes with that. That's what makes it as special as it is. Even though we had to kind of make the pivot over here to this realm, I still wanted it to be, something extraordinary. So I tried to go above and beyond it as I do. But the first topic I want to look at this week, if we could, and kind of get your take on things, is, we have talked a lot about the potential that this partnership between really WWE and TNA, but it's more focused on the NXT brand. A lot of dream match scenarios we were thrown out there initially, and we're starting to see that, especially with this upcoming battle between Obafemi and Moose. That was the one match that I'm like, man, if they can get these two in the ring, this is going to be something special. They're not wasting any time with this, Sean. Like, we saw the return of the Hardy Boys this past week on NXT, which has led to a cameo, a cameo by Santino Morella, who we haven't seen on a WWE show in quite some time. But man, NXT is going to be doing this Roadblock premium live event. They're bringing the Hardys in to put the TNA World Tag Team Championship on the line on a WWE branded pay per view. Dude, this thing is, they could have really slowed this down, but they're not. They're really starting to fire on all cylinders here, and it has become a win-win for all parties involved. TNA is really benefiting from this.
Dude, I'm loving this so much. I mean, pretty soon it's going to be AEW, and the W is going to stand for who? Because I'm telling you, man, this TNA NXT crossover is huge. I mean, Eddie Kingston, boom, Joe Hendry, uh, the brothers that I can't stand, the super kick guys in AEW.
All Young Bucks.
All those stupid guys, yeah, boom, the Hardy Boys. You know, um, I was very happy to see the Hardy Boys do the crossover. I mean, it was expected when they announced it, but Moose versus Obafemi is special. The fact that Moose defended the TNA X Division title on an NXT show, a WWE branded show, really tells you, as Quadell Edwards would say, the dirty old man's gone completely.
Hmm.
You would have never seen that 5 years ago in the WWE. And Jack Price versus anyone in NXT. I mean, I would like to see Jack Price on a mainstream show, but right now, I think what NXT and TNA are doing are exactly what Tony Khan tried to do in the beginning years of AEW, and that was try to give us those surprises that we were looking for. And it's, in my opinion, it's going to bury Tony Khan in AEW.
Got into a conversation about this, and we're going to talk more about Tony Khan here in a little bit because he's the dude that it's got to be difficult waking up to be him right now. He's got a lot of good working for him, and I do recognize that. But man, the the bad is bad, and it's not getting any better. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Um, but an example is of what you were talking about. He was able to sign Will Osprey, and this dude was supposed to come in and be one of the cornerstones of AEW. And from my viewpoint, the dude has not moved the needle at all. And no fault of his. It's not like he's not going out there and trying. It's how he's being booked, it's how he's being presented. And it makes you wonder, does he regret not coming over to the NXT or TNA side? Because look at the guys who are benefiting from this. And here's the other thing. Joe Hendry hasn't been on WWE TV since the Royal Rumble. They're not even talking about him right now. They're giving the spotlight to guys like Moose and obviously the Hardy Boys, but just because of the history that they have with WWE. But man, bringing Santino Marella out there, in that one quick clip, and the response that he got, like that to me was more special than the Hardy Boys. You see what I'm saying? Because I really felt like Santino really felt that crowd. It was a cool moment.
It was a cool moment, but look at what else NXT brand is doing. They brought in Ricky Starks, aka now Ricky Saints, and they're putting him in a high profile match with um, Ethan Page. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it is going over huge in NXT, whereas in AEW, I think it just kind of got floundered and lost in the shuffle because they were bringing in so many stars at the time. You couldn't showcase Ethan Page or you couldn't showcase Ricky Starks, who I am not a fan of, but you couldn't showcase those guys and their abilities the way they needed to be presented. And that's what's really happening now in AEW. You mentioned Will Ospreay. Look at Takeshna. Look at Okada. These guys were supposed to be the best, the best. They're becoming jokes. Osprey's a curtain jerker, even though he's in a major storyline with Kenny Omega. But they're starting a roller coaster at the top of the hill on these shows now, instead of starting them out on a slow pace. Because you build wrestling matches like a roller coaster. You start out slow, get the pace up, and then once you get to the top, the crescendo, that's where the excitement starts. Well, Osprey, they're already starting the top of the show at the top of the coaster. By the time you get to the end of the coaster, you're wore out. There's no excitement there anymore.
I can see just based on what I have seen. Like I've seen enough clips in chronological order where that is a perfect analogy. Like I can wholeheartedly understand what you're seeing and why you see it that way. And make no mistake about it, it's not like we come on any airwaves with the intention of purposely burying AEW. That's not the case. I want AEW to succeed because having viable competition is only going to help this industry. It pushes every brand to do the best that they can to remain number one or at least relevant. Um,
Well, if
AEW has a
rumors,
lot, huh?
I say, if the rumors prove true, we are going to have another promotion before too long.
Yeah, and again, we'll get to that here in our third topic of conversation. So yeah, right now NXT and TNA, like everything that we were hoping that this crossover was going to be, is materializing, at least from my view. And both of these brands are benefiting, and it's really going to help TNA. We said this a few weeks ago on ONTV. it's not going to be long before TNA winds up on a bigger um, cable network, a bigger platform because of this association with WWE. So it's going to be very cool to watch. Now, when you talk about this time of year, and obviously we're on the eve of the last PLE before the big one, there's been a lot of talk about ticket sales right now, specifically with WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. And I have seen a couple of different stories where there is some degree of concern because ticket sales have stalled um, in in the aftermath of the Royal Rumble. And a lot of the IWC are placing the blame on a lack of interest in Jey Uso and his upcoming match with World Heavyweight Champion Gunther.
Well,
Before I go into this, and this, what got me was the headline: WrestleMania tickets have stalled after Usos win. So you put a headline out there, obviously it's going to garner some attention. Now, before I give my 2 cents, what is your takeaway on this?
the IWC is a powerful entity. Look what they did to WrestleMania's main event last year.
Hmm.
And, if it doesn't make money in the WWE, or in this case TKO, it doesn't make sense. Uh, while I feel Jay is deserving of the heavyweight title, it would not shock me at this point to see another main event announced. Jay Uso getting hurt. Um, I don't know. Something's gonna give to where this is not gonna be the main event.
I, and that's what's going to bug me. And I'm going to tell you why. Because this whole thing with Jay Uso has been very reminiscent of what we saw with Daniel Bryan, what we saw with Kofi Kingston, this organic groundswell of support. And in the previous two cases, it has led those individuals to the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Big time moments, right? Not saying that either one was more deserving of the other, but I'm here to tell you, I don't know what the hell people are watching on Monday nights, but Jay Uso is getting one of the biggest pops of the night on a consistent basis. Like, why do you think ticket sales have stalled for WrestleMania in the timing after the Royal Rumble? Now, upon doing a little bit of deep diving, because I understand the whole premise of clickbait. What the article actually goes further into detail is they released more seats than originally planned because now they have a better idea of how they're setting the stadium up. This is not uncommon practice. This happens all the time. We just don't hear about it because now, especially with so much happening in the world of wrestling, and there is such a division among IWC members who can't enjoy everything. They have to stake their flag on one side of the line or the other, and they will pick anything to make an argument. Oh, WWE sucks, AEW sucks. Listen, if you're going to be a wrestling fan, just be a wrestling fan. You don't have to, sit there and shit on everything. Jay Uso is one of the most over guys in WWE right now. Merchandise sales, he's right at the top. The crowd reaction among the loudest of the night, and I want him to win the world title. And I love Gunther. I really dig that dude, and I've been happy that he was world champion. But Jay Uso, man, if they don't pull the trigger on him now, it's never going to happen.
Can I give you my theory?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. Do you remember when Paul Heyman and CM Punk were in the ring, and CM Punk said he was going to ask Paul Heyman for a favor later on if he
Mm-hmm.
helped him? What do you think if CM Punk, the favor was to have Roman Reigns take Jey Uso out so that Punk can face Gunther at WrestleMania?
That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Listen, we've seen. Listen, what are we doing right now? We are live on the air. We can't be doing this shit. What are we? Hello, hello, Sharon. Good to see you. A run in by Sharon Grugel here on Fatal Four Way. You never thought you'd see that happen.
It's karaoke night.
Oh, gotcha. I gotcha. I don't know, man. Like, I understand why people would take exception to Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, but here's the thing: we are a month into this thing now. Let's get over it. This is what's going to happen. It is going to be Jey Uso and Gunther, and if you are having a problem with this, then you are clearly on, by all perception, on the minority end of the fan spectrum because everybody else is yeeting, and I mean loudly. And what's it going to be like in Las Vegas when there's 65,000 people in there doing the whole damn thing? Like that is that could be a bigger moment than the Yes movement in 2014 with Daniel Bryan.
I'm just kind of excited to see the reaction he's going to get on Saturday. The size and scope of that place, I think
Right.
it's going to be off the hook.
No, I agree with you. Um, so I guess I wanted to focus on this headline specifically because you're not getting the whole story within the headline. And this is where people will put stuff out there like that in an effort to test the fan because the stuff gets shared and it starts a thread or it starts a conversation that really ultimately has nothing to do with the article if they actually took the time to read beyond the first paragraph. That's the way stuff's written nowadays. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that. But it is because they're releasing more seats. That's what the problem is. And primarily these are not in prime locations. But if you want to be inside the stadium and be a part of history, you have that opportunity with 15 or 20,000 more seats that have been opened up. I don't know, man. I just the IWC is so damn toxic. Like it just if you don't like it, turn the channel. It is that simple. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm the one who's crazy.
No, you're absolutely right. Because they're going to complain about any little thing that hurts their little feelings or whatever, or whoever doesn't agree with them. They're going to complain about it. That's why I don't think that Jey Uso and Gunther are going to be in the main event. I hope I'm wrong because, like you said, Jay is one of the most overworkers out there. He's probably one of the hardest working workers out there. And I think he deserves it more than anybody at this point. CM Punk, I could give two craps about. Uh, Logan Paul, not against Gunther. I don't want to see Logan Paul uh, main event WrestleMania, that's for sure.
Hmm.
You know,
Not this year anyway.
not this year. No, not yet. Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins to me is like that underwear poop stain you can't get rid of, even with bleach. He keeps hanging around. I'm not a fan of Seth Rollins at all. Drew McIntyre, he's really lost a lot of momentum with me in the last few weeks. So Jay, Jay is my pick.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to our next headline here, and this one had everybody in an uproar for half a minute. Um, Vince McMahon found a way to get himself back in people's mouths over the last 2 weeks, especially the last 2 weeks. He made an appearance, made it very well known that he was at the Super Bowl. Um, and then news started coming out, or rumors, I should say, started coming out that he was starting to put more feelers out there in terms of his future endeavor, which kind of indicated he may be looking at starting another wrestling company, which nobody really batted an eye at until Fox's name became part of the conversation. And it started this groundswell of rumors and innuendo that Vince and Fox were negotiating or at least having conversations about Fox being the home of a new Vince McMahon run wrestling company. A representative from Fox has since come out and said while they are aware that Vince McMahon is planning a new endeavor, a new business venture, Fox is not a part of the presentation. What's your takeaway? Is this smoking mirrors? Is this to get people off the trail? Is there anything to this rumor that Vince and Fox may be working out some sort of deal, or is this just something that took life that really shouldn't have?
Do you think Fox is really going to admit, with all the accusations against Vince McMahon, that they are in talks with him to bring a new product to his company? I almost feel like that if Vince does do this, there's going to be a figurehead at the head of this company, much like Triple H is the figurehead for TKO. Maybe we'll see Shane McMahon be the head of this new company with Vince. Uh, Obviously, Shane put the feelers out there to AEW, having lunch with Tony Khan and whatnot. I don't know what kind of relationship he has with his dad, but Fox will not put themselves in jeopardy at this point without a deal in place with all the accusations swirling around Vince McMahon right now.
It it gets no more simple than that. Why at right now the allegations against McMahon are still very active. Like this thing is not done and over with by a long shot. And I can't imagine anybody at this point that would want to risk their reputation to work with McMahon in anything until there is a definitive end to this lawsuit with the former employee of WWE. He's got a long way to go. Now, I'm going to use this as a transition to our next topic because you mentioned Shane McMahon and having a meeting with Tony Khan. Um, Interesting news from this part. Jonathan Coachman, who we know as the coach, former announcer from WWE and then left to go work for ESPN, has started his own podcast. And on his show recently, he indicated that more or less after Shane put out there, and this is just from what he had heard, I guess, Shane wanted to really run AEW in order for him to come in any capacity. And for all intents and purposes, Tony Khan ghosted him. Um, that unto itself, when you ghost Shane McMahon, if you don't even let him know, come back with a counter offer or whatever, and you ghost him, that really told me a lot as to what kind of business mind Tony Khan has beyond what we have seen from his role as a promoter or booker in AEW. But this dude has got a lot of crap on his plate right now. we're a few days away from their next pay-per-view outing, Revolution. And if you're an AEW fan, the four matches that they have announced that I saw should have you pretty excited about it. Um, but one thing that a lot of people aren't talking about right now, Sean, and I had to do a little bit of research on this, but he is the target of a lawsuit by Ryan Nemeth, who is the brother of the former Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth. Just recently coming off an impressive run as the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Ryan Nemeth is suing Khan, AEW, and CM Punk. And when I did some research, and I'll pull this up here in just a moment. Um, Actually, I'll do it right now. Have you heard about this lawsuit at all?
I have. I was just looking over at Levi saying, yeah, I did hear something about this, something about like a hostile work environment and a few other odds and ends in there. So I'm not exactly sure what the entire context is of it is, but I'm sure you just pulled it up by the look on your face.
I did. I actually have the entire lawsuit, the official lawsuit, and it is pretty lengthy, if I can be honest with you, like more lengthy than you would imagine. Um, Essentially, the lawsuit states that Tony Khan, who had a deep fanfare and admiration for Phil Brooks, who is CM Punk, allowed Brooks to act aggressively towards others without consequence. Essentially, Nemeth is accusing Khan allowing Punk to bully him, to take liberties out on him, which has been an adverse effect on his career, the longevity of it. Um, it seems like there's a lot of like a pissing contest right now. I don't. There was a lot of rumors that went on with Punk's time in AEW, and a lot of that was fueled by his own actions and these media scrums and these controversial comments that were made disparagingly in seemingly a shoot fashion against workers within AEW. So I none of this really surprises me. I guess if anything, I'm surprised it's gone this far that some out of court settlement wasn't already made to put this under the rug. But here's another thing that I found interesting. Upon doing more research on this, because the Khan family, his dad owns the Jacksonville Jaguars of the NFL. They also own a couple of European soccer teams as well, and one of which Tony was put in charge of for a period of time. And during his tenure at the helm of that organization, he was met with lawsuits for unfair practices, favoritism, and allowing bullying to happen. This is a very alarming trend from my view.
I really want to know the context in which this bullying happened because I know a lot of people who sit on the outside of the guardrails would consider what happens a lot of times in a locker room bullying, a lot of times hazing. I think a lot a lot has to do with the way times have changed. I said it in a post yesterday. A lot of these kids' bodies are as soft as their feelings. You know, uh, you're darn right. Um, you know,
Oh, beautiful. That was nice. Thank you for that.
but you know, I to me it sounds like Nick Nemeth grasping at straws, trying or Ryan
Ryan.
make trying to make himself relevant because he's always going to be in the shadow of his brother. Number one, number
Facts.
two, his career in AEW. How many times did we see him on TV? And then coupled with that, how many times was he on TV where he wasn't doing the job? You know what I'm saying? Um, Wrestling, in a lot of ways, behind the curtain, there is a lot of hazing. There is a lot of ribbing. Uh, a particular instance, I can, I'll even drop names. Myself, Big Chuck Wagon, and another guy. We took a guy by the name of Whip Dog's wrestling gear bag. We filled it up with garbage and then duct taped it to the ceiling. You know, a lot of people would have thought that that was bullying. I look at it now, and the way the world is, sure, that's probably bullying, but we were just, uh, joking around with the guy, and he got us back. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, fact of the matter is I think his lawsuit in this day and age probably has some merit to it. 10, 15 years ago, probably not so much. It's a whole new world nowadays, Jason.
One thing on that I forgot about, and you had said something, and it sparked this. If you are a worker in the industry, you'll know why this registers. One of the allegations made against Punk is that Punk was trying to get Nemeth blackballed in the entire industry, so he would have a very hard time finding work in another reputable organization. But this is where promotions like the NWA, run by Billy Corgan, and MLW, run by Court Bauer, would really benefit. There's name recognition. You know, there's talent there. You take a guy like Orion Nemeth, who's been blackballed or excommunicated from AEW, doesn't get on WWE's radar quite yet. But this is where you're going to see the organizations like MLW and TNA, or I'm sorry, NWA, and a couple of other ones, especially those that are going to be affiliated with this ID program with WWE. um, just because you get blackballed in AEW doesn't really, if we can be honest, it's not the death knell for anybody at this point. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely would agree. I think working for AEW is the death knell for a lot of people. Um, where's Eddie Kingston? Where's the Young Bucks? Where's Luchasaurus? Where's Jungle Boy Jack Perry? You know, where are all these guys? Uh, Tony Khan, we've talked about it on the hot tag before. He doesn't book for the benefit of his company. He doesn't book for the benefit of his storylines. He doesn't even book for the benefit of his workers. He books for the benefit of Tony Khan and what Tony Khan wants to see in a wrestling ring. There is no consistency in AEW. I know people can come on here and they can tell me how entertaining it is. And you know what? I'd have to tend to agree with them. There are some matches that are absolutely spectacular. I cannot wait to see Will Ospreay, uh, excuse me, and Kyle Fletcher go at it again. I mean, it is 100% one of the best gymnastics shows you've ever seen in your life, next to the Circus Soleil. I'm looking forward to it.
Man, you're on fire tonight.
Hey, I'm only speaking the truth, brother. Um, I always said if I can make a person laugh, I'm going to make that connection with them. AEW is just the opposite. If they could do a million flippy doos, everyone's going to leave the ring happy. And that includes the boys in the back because that's all they're trying to pop.
Right, but the ones that are spending the money to keep this shit afloat, like I have never ordered one thing. I have never bought one thing with their logo on it. And the closest that I have come to it was an action figure of Cody Rhodes that I saw a week after he returned to WWE. I'm like, maybe I should grab this just in case it winds up being worth something, but I didn't because of the logo that was at the top of the box.
You
I
talking
just,
about the big rubber Cody
I
in the blue
am.
box? Yeah. I thought about it once or twice too, but you ain't never gonna make no money off an AEW logo. That's why it's all WWE on my wall over here.
Yeah, I mean, I have, well, not here, but I have a very select few items of WCW in my collection, but everything else is WWE. But be that as it may. Um, so let's just make mention of this just so that we're trying to be fair about everything. AEW does have a pay-per-view that's coming up next weekend, March the 9th, taking place in Los Angeles. MJF is going to go one-on-one with Hangman Adam Page. You mentioned Osprey and Fletcher. Um, and the main event is going to be Dean Ambrose versus Edge. I'm sorry. Let me be respectful. John Moxley is going to defend the AEW World Heavyweight Championship against
Cope.
Adam Copeland, formerly known as what I just said earlier.
I am so super looking forward to that match. There, Jason, I said it out loud. Does that put us all on the level now?
Do you have that? What is it? What they're on Max now? Do you have that? Will you be tuning in?
No, because they're pay-per-views you still gotta pay for. It's not like a PLE. All they're doing is taking their shows from what is it? The one network that they're on and transferring it over to Max. They're not showing PLEs on Max that
Oh,
I've seen anyway.
okay. Well, that's great. So if you are an AEW fan, I'm sure you are looking forward to that. And again, it goes down on March the 9th. Check your local cable outlet and satellite dish providers for pay-per-view availability. Christ, I ain't said that in a hot minute. You know what I mean? Because that used to be how Mean Gene would end all of the pay-per-view reports and check your local cable company for availability.
I will be doing exactly that next week for the AEW pay-per-view.
Now, all right, let's get serious. Ordinarily, this is where we would run the commercial break.
The
If we
commercials.
were on ONTV, then we would come back and Brian would take us to the Mount Rushmore segment of the show. There is no commercial break, and Brian's not here. So I'm going to try to do the best that I can. And obviously Q is not here, but per Mr. Balf, the Stan Lee of PFC, um, he thought because we are still in the month of February, albeit the last day, we wanted to do our part here on the show to pay honor and homage to the greatest African American professional wrestlers of all time and their contributions to the sport. So this week's Mount Rushmore is going to be our Mount Rushmores of African American superstars in professional wrestling. And Brian has here a great list, and you can make an argument. You know, a couple of these are going to wind up on multiple Rushmores, but from left to right, Ron Simmons, the first ever recognized Black World Heavyweight Champion. He won the title in WCW from Vader in 1992. Just a historic moment. I believe it was at a glorified house show that they just happened to tape. It wasn't part of a pay per view or Clash of the Champions or anything like that. Next up, Abdullah the Butcher, who as a kid used to scare the crap out of me. Like that dude was legit crazy. I think he's like legit crazy. On the polar opposite of that, you get our truth, and just what a treasure this dude has become, and Booker T. So he has a very good list here.
Five time. Five time. Five time. No spinneroonies happening here though.
No, no, and I'm sure shit ain't gonna do one. I can tell you that. Mr. Edwards, Hollywood Q, has a great list as well. The Rock, how can you not include him in the conversation? Bianca Belair, who I have gone on record and said we have not seen her best yet. She has not yet come into her prime, and she's one of the best to do it at this point. Again, Booker T, the 5-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, Tag Team Specialist, King Booker, former King. And Bobby Lashley, which I thought was an interesting pick for Q, but I can totally understand why. He,
His two picks to me with Bianca and Bobby, they're to me they're not there for the Mount Rushmore yet. They could be,
yeah.
but not yet.
All right. And then let's pull up Mr. Grugels there. Walk us through this, pal.
Well, left to right, you got Ron Simmons, like you said, first recognized WCW heavyweight champion. Number two, one of my personal favorites. All right, baby, it's the Junkyard Dog. Love the JYD, probably my favorite. One of my favorite 80s wrestlers of all time. Number three, there you got Thunderbolt Patterson. Dude was a pioneer, tried to establish a union within the pro wrestling ranks. Uh, Followed up by him is Bobo Brazil. You can't talk Detroit wrestling without mentioning Bobo Brazil. Uh, I mean, talk about a groundbreaker, Jason. I mean, look, he's got a heavyweight title on his back in the 60s and 70s, around
Right.
his waist. And then on the bottom, I had an honorable mention because, as you can see there, that is the Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe with a reverse chin lock on Bobo Brazil. Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe was my trainer. And in the 90s, I really don't feel like there would have been a whole lot of recognition towards independent wrestling here in the greater Detroit area if it wasn't for the Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe. With Malcolm Monroe, you also got his son, Malcolm Monroe the second, aka the DBA, who was, believe this or not, Jason, a little tidbit of information for you, the first black wrestling promoter to hold a show at Cobo Hall.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's phenomenal. I did not realize that. I don't know what's happening right now, but my screen is completely froze up and it will not let me move forward in this graphic.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
your screen itself, yeah, it looks like you snapped a photo. I can hear you fine, but
I
yeah,
don't
everything's
get it,
frozen.
bro. This whole thing today has been nothing short of a challenge. Yeah, so just bear with us. I don't know what is happening here, but and as soon as we can, I will bring my graphic up. I do know yeah, I'll just wait till my graphic is up. Let's look ahead to the Elimination Chamber card that's going down tomorrow. Um, Rogers Center in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. A lot of implications on this particular show. Man, it would be awesome if this would unfreeze so I could do what I got to do.
Hey,
Hi,
hi, buddy.
welcome back to the show. All right.
Let's see if your graphic works.
Well, let's yeah. No, I feel like it's going to make me start over. It is. Let me see if I can fast forward. Yep. All right. There's yours. There.
There you go.
All right. They'll get back on track. All right. The Rock, Booker T, Junkyard Dog, Ernie Ladd. Ernie Ladd is one of those guys that doesn't get enough flowers. And he was one time one of the most influential people in all of the business as a performer, former star in the NFL, came over to professional wrestling, but it was his work as a booker that really put him on my Mount Rushmore. Like he didn't give a rat's ass if you were black, white, red, brown, yellow. It didn't matter because the only color he cared about was green. And if you drew money, that's all he cared about.
Yep.
Um, it was very cool for me. If you go back and if you go on Peacock and you look up what's called the big event, which took place in Toronto in 1986, Ernie Ladd is the color commentator with Gorilla Monsoon. So it's cool to get, and during the course of that particular show, he really gave some insight onto his knowledge of the business, and he does not get enough love in my view. So I just wanted to make mention of that.
No love for Virgil. No, none. I've been on shows with Virgil. No. God rest his soul, but Soul Train Jones, no.
I was contemplating I'm putting him on there as a goof, but I was like, no, I want to take this one seriously. But then I was like, well, maybe I'll make a graphic with so many other African American wrestlers who really did make a name for themselves and left an indelible impression on the business. Guys like Johnny Rods, SD Jones, um, Iceman King Parsons, Butch Reed. Butch Reed was over like a motherfucker in Florida. Can we just agree with
Oh yeah.
that?
Iceman King Parsons was one of my absolute favorites. You know who I almost put on there? Not to take away anything from anyone's
Kamala.
picks. No, no. You're gonna laugh when I tell you this, but Marty Wright, the Boogeyman. Sim-
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
and not only because his character was groundbreaking, but how he got into the business, going through tough enough at like 60 years old or whatever it was, or wasn't he 55? I think it was.
He was up there. I'm not. I don't remember how old he was. I felt like he
Built
was like late 40s.
built better than most of the kids on Tough Enough,
Mm,
and was basically essentially picked out. All right, well, you didn't make Tough Enough, but you made WWE wrestler. You know, Too Cold Scorpio. That would have been a great pick too.
yeah. I mean, you just go on. There's just so many. The New Day, all three members of the New Day.
PN
Um,
News. No
Jesus
love for PN
Christ,
News.
no! You
What
gonna
about
put him
Oscar
up there
from Man
next
on
to
a Mission?
Akeem? I mean, what are we
Yes.
doing right now? No.
Big Mad Mama from Glow. Come on.
I don't even know what's wrong with you. Let's move on. The Elimination Chamber is tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time here in the East. A lot of implications on this show. We're going to find out theoretically who Cody Rhodes is going to be wrestling at WrestleMania.
You see
Um,
my pick on my side of the screen.
yeah, yeah. But the thing of it is, Mr. Grugel, is you have here Cody versus Rock. Rock is not in the Elimination Chamber match. In
He
fact,
doesn't need to be.
let me go ahead and just pull up the graphic. These are the 6 men who will be competing in the men's elimination chamber match. You see Damian Priest, Logan Paul, Seth freaking Rollins, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, and
And
John
Ernest P.
Cena.
Worrell.
Um,
Know what I mean?
five five out of 6 guys in this match have been world champion. The one guy is, the Maverick. Um, I just saw something on one of these Facebook pages that I follow. Apparently, there's a spoiler out there, Sean, that Drew McIntyre is winning this thing tomorrow again in back-to-back years.
I would love to see it. I think we are going to have some final boss intervention, honestly. I really think that the two main events at WrestleMania are going to come down to Cody versus The Rock and CM Punk versus Gunther. I think it's going to be completely changed up.
Well, if last year proved anything, and you can even go back further to 1997 when they were trying to build WrestleMania 13, there was a lot of dissension going on that ultimately, in that case, thank God, because that's how we got Bret Hart and Steve Austin, and what made Austin as big of a star as he became. It was like that was the double switch and all that. Last year, I have such polarizing feelings about the way everything went down last year. And when they announced last week that The Rock was coming back to SmackDown for this big announcement, I'm like, mother, here we go again. Here we go again because it's The Rock and he legitimately is the boss of WWE if we're being honest. This whole thing and it has become its own segment on this show in which Cody Rhodes has a decision to make. Is he going to align himself with the final boss to become The Rock's champion? I don't know how you feel about that promo that went down on Friday, last Friday, but I came away from that like my head hurt. Like I felt like Dwayne Johnson in a rare moment got lost in his own promo. I feel like there was like three different things happening at once and he just wasn't sure how to bring it all together. That's just
He
how I felt. I felt
he
very
dropped an F
frustrated.
bomb.
Yeah, yeah.
He dropped
Well,
an F
he's
bomb on live TV. I get he's the final boss, but I mean, let's have some decorum here. I mean, here we are on the Fatal Four Way, even though we're on Riverside, we're watching our language simply
I'm
because we
trying.
represent the, yeah, simply because we represent on TV. Um, but fact of the matter is I think The Rock. It's funny with The Rock because if you were to go out and cut a promo, Jason, they would tell you to keep it to 6 minutes. If you went 1 minute over, you'd be fined. You probably wouldn't be on the next three shows. The Rock goes out there, he cuts a 20-minute promo that doesn't make any sense, and people are patting him on the back. I don't I don't get it. Yeah, he's the final boss, but shouldn't we have some sort of, I don't know, hate to use the term regulation on him, but reel him in a little bit when he's dropping those F bombs, for goodness sakes. They literally just got this contract.
Right. Yeah, this isn't Netflix. You
Right.
don't really have the whole lot of wiggle room. I mean, it is on cable, and the one thing that probably saved their ass on any of this is their long running partnership with WWE, and USA Network, and that's probably why they got away with it. But I'm very much with you. You've got to reel this in. If you're going to put that kind of content on, and you know that's what's going to happen, you need to steer that more towards that Netflix audience, in my view. All right. Another match that has been signed for the Elimination Chamber is a big tag team encounter. Toronto's own WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus is going to team up with WWE Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton to take on the irresistible force Nia Jax and the purple haired uh, Candice LeRae.
I look at Candice LeRae and she looks like she needs the souls of the children in order to regain back her youth. She's looking like a soccer mom that was been rode hard and put away wet. She really does not fit the whole demographic of this match. I'm sorry to say, but Candice LeRae uh, probably should have been given her walking papers about 5 years ago. I don't care for her character. I don't didn't care for her when she was the poison pixie. I didn't care for her when she was teaming with Indy Hartwell. But then again, when it comes to her wrestling ability, I do have to say I think she is better than probably 2/3 of the roster. Um, the problem is, just like with Baron Corbin, they can't find the right fit for the right gimmick for her. And this whole thing with Nia Jax, to me, I don't think it's working. It doesn't feel cohesive. It doesn't feel natural. It feels forced. I don't know about anyone else, but I just don't care for it.
Yeah, I feel like this match really is just to give Trish Stratus something to do in her hometown. Um, Tiffany Stratton, we're gonna find out who she's. Well, it's gonna be her and Charlotte for the title at WrestleMania.
Right.
Um, so that's the other thing. We haven't heard anything about Charlotte Flair, so you gotta believe that she's gonna make some sort of appearance in some regard on this show, because this is the last premium live event before Vegas. So they're gonna have to keep doing something to elevate more interest in this, because putting history has shown that putting a world champion in an inconsequential tag match doesn't do anybody any favors. And
No.
especially if you want to make her a star on the level of Charlotte Flair, you've got the opportunity. You got to do something with it. Like, why do we even have this match going? This is a SmackDown match. This is a Raw match. This is a house show match. This should not be on a premium live event. I don't care where it's being held at.
The only thing I could hope for, I know Tiffy has kind of gone the way of the baby face. I'm really hoping to see a vicious streak in her. Trish Stratus gets pinned by Nia Jax. Tiffy can't believe it. She goes in there and beats the shit out of. Oh, I'm sorry. Uh, Beats the
It's
poop
all right.
out of Trish Stratus. Charlotte Flair comes down to make the save. Charlotte Flair gets the heel pop. Tiffy goes back to being, or gets the babyface pop. Tiffy goes back to being heel, and all is right in the world again. I really think that that's why they put Trish in this match, was to put Tiffy over. But let's face it, my track record with these PLEs haven't been very good lately, so I'm probably wrong.
Listen, that's probably what was originally planned, and somebody just changed it. Because it's not awful. Not like the lineup we've got for the women's elimination chamber match. Oh my goodness! The winner of this is going to challenge the winner of Monday's championship match between Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. We are
how
going to see.
come
Okay,
how come Bailey looks more Asian than Io Sky in this
isn't
picture?
that something?
Wow. I'm not
So
saying that
is
sounding racist. Just look at the picture.
right. No, I hear you. Bailey, Roxanne Perez, Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, and Bianca Belair will be locked inside the elimination chamber. Roxanne Perez, she's there to be strictly on elimination.
Yeah.
Really the only matchup that I want to see with this would there's two of them. I would love to see Alexa Bliss come on, come back, make this comeback, win this match, and go to WrestleMania to face Rhea Ripley. The other one would be Bianca Belair, but I don't think we're going to go that route. I think this whole thing that's been kind of teased and toyed with for the last several months with the injury to Jade Cargill, Naomi's involvement, like this thing is coming to a head sometime between now and WrestleMania. Does it actually happened at the Elimination Chamber, where it's revealed that Naomi is the one who sidelined Jade instead of Liv and Raquel. What happens here? Who walks out of here with a title shot at WrestleMania?
I'm gonna go with Liv. I think we're gonna see Liv two belts. I know that sounds silly, but I absolutely believe that she's gonna go over. I believe that we're going to see Jade Cargill come out much like RoboCop and rip the cage door off and attack Bianca and Naomi.
You couldn't have used Kane
No,
as
no.
as an example. You had to go RoboCop.
I went RoboCop, yes.
Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness. All right.
Well, anyway, Liv for the win.
Okay. Which I could see. She's become a star, no matter what. I'm not necessarily a fan, but I can't deny she is what she is. She is a star.
Yep.
She has carved herself out a respectable niche in today's landscape, and I can appreciate that. She's a hustler, and I get that.
There is no lion in the Elimination Chamber, Tim. Just saying. Chat. You gotta join us in the chat. We got Go Lions. So,
My
oh
goodness.
boy.
Yeah. Now this is going to wind up being Tim. I just looked down and saw that. I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I just looked up. That's funny. Um, Happy birthday to you, Tim. By the
Yes.
way, Tim Sheridan is joining in the live chat. You can hear him every week on the Sports Reel podcast here on the PFC Network. Um, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, we've seen it a million and a half times across multiple promotions, multiple brands. They're going to do it one more time in what's being called an unsanctioned match. I am a huge fan of Kevin Owens, not so much of Sami Zayn, but if I can be honest with you, I'm actually looking forward to this match, and I never thought I would say that about a Sami Zayn match. But the story that they have told with this, I think, is what has my interest. And boys and girls, that's what it's all about. It's not about how many goddamn flippy doos you do. It's not. None of that matters. It is the emotional involvement of a story that is perfectly executed, and that's what you have with Owens and Zayn. I could give a crap less about Sami Zayn, but even I have to be like, man, if this was a real life thing, a real life fight, I could totally understand where Sami Zayn is coming from, but to play the devil's advocate, I can totally see where Kevin Owens is coming from too. So on paper, both these dudes, like, there is no winner here. Both these guys are getting carted out of Skydome, and I feel like if I have the book, we're going to see this culminate at Mania inside Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, this match actually is the one that has the potential to steal the whole show. I'm just sick of seeing. I mean, these guys have been fighting each other since their Ring of Honor days, their independent show days. El Generico versus Kevin Steen. How many times have we seen it?
Right.
So, how cool would it be to see Sami Zayn come out as El Generico in Canada? I bet you that would get way over.
I think it would,
Yeah,
but I think it would be lost on the mainstream fan.
absolutely it would. Yep.
That would appeal to a let me be respectful. It would appeal to a smaller contingent of the overall fan base, because the
Yeah.
overall fan base knows that man as Sami Zayn, and they are in Canada. But you know what? So is Kevin Owens.
Right.
He's Canadian. So you're going to get a 60-40 crowd in Skydome or Rogers Center. I keep calling it Skydome because that's what it's always going to be to me. It is the Rogers Center, but um, that place is going to be raucous
Yeah.
for this match, and because of that and what they're capable of doing, what Kevin Owens did at the Royal Rumble in that ladder match against Rhodes was insane.
Yeah.
Some of those he should not be doing spots like that, but he
Yeah.
does, and that's what makes him Kevin Owens.
Well, I'm just go out and I'm going to say Sami Zayn's going over in this one.
Really,
Yeah. Yep. He needs it. He needs something.
Owens needs this. Owens needs a rebound,
Yeah.
and so he can stay within the world title picture because he's too good to be regulated to the United States title or the Intercontinental title or this and the ID. Well, he's not going to be part of the ID thing, but like every time you turn around, there's a new championship being introduced for somebody, and it's like, no, this guy needs to be in contention for the World Heavyweight Championship or the WWE Championship. In my view, he's too damn good. So I know we've crossed the hour mark here. Is there anything else you would like to touch on before we start to wind this down and put a bow on this?
Real quick, have you been watching LFG?
I have not yet because I don't have regular access to A&E, at least in the time frame where I'm available to watch something like that. I guess I need to download the app or some crap like that.
It's they're starting to incorporate storylines into it. And what I
Really?
mean by that is Michelle McCool tells the Undertaker that she wants to help. Undertaker shows up. Michelle McCool is helping Mickey James with her students. Here comes the storyline. I was really hoping this was going to be kind of a tough enough type deal,
Right.
but it's not looking to be that way. These kids are a lot more trained in what they're telling. This is a story based competition. This is not a real competition. I'm not happy with it. I'm looking forward to this Evolve getting ready to show up on, was it Hulu? Um,
Tubi.
Tubi. Um, because I'm really hoping to see some of these WWE ID prospects. Because I'm going to tell you something right now, Jason. When NXT was in its infancy, those people were busting their asses to get noticed.
Hmm.
Now NXT to me is kind of on the same level as a SmackDown. Maybe not quite a Raw because I still hold Raw and that upper echelon, but NXT and SmackDown I feel are on level playing fields, especially since TNA is here now. But now
Right.
you're going to have Evolve, and these kids are going to want to be noticed. They are going to work so hard to be noticed, and we don't need anything that's going to be like LFG to slow that down. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
All right. Well, I appreciate that because I haven't seen it. Like I saw a clip on TikTok or something of Michelle McCool talking with the Undertaker, and but I didn't realize it was going to be on that level to where they're going to start incorporating this into a storyline that really takes it away for me. Because
Yeah.
I got excited about the initial trailer of the show that I saw. I'm like, oh damn, this is going to be an upgraded version of Tough Enough, and you got Bubba Ray Dudley in on this.
I
You
thought we
have
had
my
another Daniel
attention,
Pewter.
huh?
I thought we were going to have another Daniel Pewter incident.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, oh man, you have my attention. I can't wait to sit down and actually be able to watch this. Now, I mean, I'm still going to check it out, make no mistake, but that really kind of takes some of the wind out of the sails, you know? That's unfortunate.
Yep, it really is.
You know, yeah, well,
Hey, Joe, Brian, I hope that you guys get to feeling good here pretty soon. I know what it's like. Q, man, you still must be making yourself beautiful because you are really, really late now. Really late.
We were late coming on, and he's still late.
Really?
Oh man, that's rich. What was I? I was gonna say something. I'm like, don't forget to do this, and I have forgotten what the hell that was. So that's great. Um.
We always got 2
Oh,
weeks from now.
that's what it was. I was going to look up the exact date, which is going to be March the 14th. Will be the next time we are on the Fatal Four Way. And for all intents and purposes, and hopefully everybody's going to be back to feeling better, we will be doing this from our regular location at ONTV Studio in Lake Orion. Very much looking forward to that. And for all the latest news and information about this show and all the great shows, check out pfcnetwork.net and or stay tuned to our social media outlets on Facebook and TikTok. Hit the like and subscribe and share button for us. Get the word out. Let's get the numbers up. We appreciate you taking time out of your Friday night to watch us. Um, I'm not sure how this is going to work because my screen looks funny again, Sean. So here in a second, I'm going to have you turn your mic and your camera off. I have to do the same because I want to make sure it's actually going to stop the broadcast because, like I said, my screen looks funny right this second. And I don't need any off air remarks being public. Anywho, go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time here on the Fatal Four Way as a part of the PFC Entertainment Network. Okay, I think we're good. I can't hear you.
I said we're still streaming, aren't we?